Welcome back, dear listeners. I'm your host, and you're listening to Shell's Spooky Stories. What I'm about to share with you comes from Emma Richardson, a youth worker from the UK. Some places on Earth seem to exist in that razor-thin space between our world and whatever lies beyond. The Ravencroft Emergency Shelter is one of those places. Before we begin, I should warn you, this story isn't for the faint of heart. If you're listening alone, you might want to turn on an extra light. Or better yet, don't. Emma's story begins on October 12, 2023. It was supposed to be a simple educational field trip, the kind she'd organised dozens of times before. The destination, a recently declassified Cold War emergency shelter, hidden beneath an unassuming farmhouse in the dense forests of the UK. The shelter had been opened to the public just months earlier, marketed as a historical attraction. But history, as Emma would soon discover, has a way of leaving echoes. Sometimes those echoes have teeth. I'll let Emma tell you in her own words. This is the statement she sent me, unedited. I've worked with troubled youth for 12 years. I'm not easily rattled. But what happened in Ravencroft? It changed me. Changed all of us. The day started normally enough. 8 teenagers from my support group, ages 14 to 17, plus my colleague Mark. The kids were excited. They always are when we do these trips. It gets them out of their usual routine, gives them something to look forward to. The property itself was beautiful, all autumn colours and morning mist. The farmhouse looked like something from a postcard. Our guide, Dr. Sarah Henderson, met us in the gravel parking lot. She was dressed professionally, clipboard in hand, but something about her seemed off. Her smile never quite reached her eyes. "Welcome to Ravencroft," she said, leading us toward the house. "Before we begin, I need to go over some safety protocols. The shelter extends 6 levels underground. Some areas are still being renovated, so certain sections are off limits. Please stay with the group at all times. Mobile phones won't work down there, and it's easy to get turned around." I remember thinking it was strange how she emphasised those last words, "get turned around," like she was warning us about something more than just losing our way. The entrance to the shelter was in the farmhouse basement, a massive steel door that looked completely out of place against the stone foundation. The sound it made when Dr. Henderson opened it, I still hear it in my dreams, this low metallic groan like something in pain. The first thing that hit us was the cold. It wasn't just temperature, it was a bone-deep chill that seemed to seep into your very core. The air had this metallic taste, and the walls, they seemed to absorb our flashlight beams rather than reflect them. We descended the main stairwell, concrete steps that spiraled down into darkness. The kids were unusually quiet now. Even Jason, our group's resident comedian, wasn't cracking jokes anymore. Level 1 was mundane enough: storage rooms, decontamination showers, air filtration systems. But as we went deeper, something changed. The air got heavier, sounds began to move differently. On level 3, we entered what Dr. Henderson called the processing centre. Long corridors lined with small rooms, each containing a single metal bed bolted to the floor. The paint on the walls was peeling, revealing messages scratched into the concrete beneath. Most were unreadable, but I caught glimpses. Numbers, names, dates going back to the 1960s. That's when Lily, one of our quieter girls, started crying. Not sobbing, just silent tears running down her face. When I asked her what was wrong, she wouldn't answer, just kept staring at one of the empty beds like she could see something we couldn't. We should have left then, but we didn't. We went deeper. Level 4 was the medical bay. The equipment there was old, but some of it looked used, recently used. There were fresh scratches on the operating table. The restraints showed signs of wear. That's when we heard it, a sound that had no business existing 6 levels underground. Children laughing, not our kids. They were all accounted for, all standing frozen in that room. This laughter came from somewhere below us. It echoed up through the ventilation system, bouncing off the walls until it seemed to come from everywhere at once. Dr. Henderson acted like she hadn't heard anything. She just kept talking about the shelter's history, about its capacity to house 300 people, about the psychological studies conducted there during the height of the Cold War. Studies? Mark interrupted. What kind of studies? She changed the subject quickly, too quickly. But it was on level 5 that things truly went wrong. The moment we stepped off the stairs, every flashlight we had flickered and died. All of them. At the exact same moment. The emergency lighting kicked in, dim reddish bulbs that cast more shadows than light. In that blood-red glow, we saw the drawings. Hundreds of them covering the walls, crude figures drawn in what looked like crayon, but wrong. The proportions were off. The faces weren't quite human. And they all seemed to be looking at us. Then someone screamed. I think it was Chelsea. One of the drawings, a stick figure with too many arms, it moved. Just for a second, just a slight twitch, but we all saw it. The kids panicked. They ran for the stairs, and we ran with them. But the stairs, they weren't where they should have been. We found ourselves in a maze of corridors we hadn't seen before, all identical, all leading nowhere. The emergency lights started failing one by one, plunging sections of the hallway into total darkness, and in that darkness something was moving. We could hear it sliding along the walls, getting closer. The air turned ice cold, and that children's laughter started again, but this time it wasn't playful. It was wrong. Distorted. Like a record playing at the wrong speed. I grabbed the nearest kid, I think it was Jason, and yelled for everyone to hold hands. Form a chain. We stumbled through the darkness, following the wall with our free hands. The thing behind us was getting closer. I could feel its breath on my neck, cold as a winter grave. We found the stairs by pure luck. Or maybe something led us there. Something that didn't want us to see what was waiting in the deeper levels. We ran up those stairs faster than I thought possible. The sound of our footsteps drowned out by that terrible laughter. Dr. Henderson was waiting for us in the farmhouse basement, calm as ever. She asked if we'd enjoyed the tour. Like nothing had happened. Like she hadn't even been with us. But here's the thing that still haunts me. The detail I can't explain. When we got back to the parking lot, 3 hours had passed. 3 hours, when the tour was supposed to take 90 minutes. None of us could account for that missing time. I filed a report with the Historical Society. They claimed there was no Dr. Sarah Henderson on their staff. The tour company we booked through had no record of our reservation. When I drove back the next day to demand answers, the farmhouse was abandoned, boarded up, looking like it had been that way for years. But I know what we saw, what we heard, what followed us through those dark corridors. Sometimes late at night, I still hear that laughter. And sometimes when I close my eyes, I see those drawings on the wall. Still moving, still watching. That was Emma's statement. I've spent weeks investigating her claims, trying to separate fact from fiction. The Ravencroft Shelter exists. That much I've confirmed. But its official history is spotty. Documents from the 1960s mention psychological research, but the details are heavily redacted. There are gaps in the records, years where the facility simply disappears from all official documentation. I found newspaper clippings from 1964 about missing children in the area, 7 of them, all vanishing within months of each other. The cases were never solved. The last place several of them were seen, a farmhouse in the woods since torn down. But here's what truly chills me. Last week I received an envelope. No return address. Inside was a crayon drawing, crude stick figures with too many arms. And on the back, in childish handwriting, 3 words. Come play below. I won't be accepting that invitation. I wonder. How many others have? How many have walked down those stairs and never walked back up? How many are still there, in the deeper levels, drawing their pictures on the walls? Some doors, once opened, can never truly be closed again. Our listener's story serves as a chilling reminder that some places exist between worlds. Places where the veil between what we know and what we fear grows desperately thin. The Ravencroft Shelter, it seems, still holds secrets that occasionally reveal themselves to those brave, or perhaps unfortunate, enough to venture below.
Thanks for tuning in to tonight's chilling tale, but the hauntings don't have to end here. If you love ghost stories and crave even more spine-tingling content, why not unlock the other side? Join our exclusive membership for bonus episodes, behind-the-scenes extras, and much more. The link is waiting for you in the description below. And do you have a story of your own? Something that keeps you up at night? Share your experience through the links in the description. You might just hear your own story being featured on upcoming episodes. And before you go, don't forget to like this video, share it with your fellow ghost story lovers, and subscribe to the channel so you never miss a shadow in the dark. Stay spooky, and we'll see you on the other side.